today we will be looking at our final lesson in types of sentences. Yesterday we looked at complex sentence, and today we will be looking at compound complex sentence. Now, when I was a student going to school, one of the things that I hated the most, one of the topics that I honestly hated the most was just this exact topic that we're doing, types of sentence. I don't know if it was because I wasn't paying much attention or because of how it was put over to me, but I really feel that with us being able to use this platform to do this lesson, I think that for you on the receiving end, I really feel that you should be able to understand it. Because when we are asked to teach sentences in school, we are limited in terms of resources. We are limited in terms of creativity to some extent, and time, especially time. And so because of how we are now, I was able to spend enough time planning and getting the layout and getting the right sentences and so on for you. So I'll quickly review. So we looked at simple sentences, and we gathered that a simple sentence is made up of an independent clause because it contains a subject, a verb, and most importantly, it expresses a complete thought. Then we moved on to look at compound sentences, and we were able to gather that compound sentences are mainly two simple sentences or two independent clauses being joined by a coordinating conjunction, fanboys, or a semicolon. Then we moved on to look at complex sentences, and I'll ask somebody here quickly to just review. You don't have to read what you have. Well, I'm sure you don't have the notes because I posted only like an hour ago in the Google Classroom. So tell me what you remember from yesterday's lesson about complex sentences. So, Odesh, what can you remember about complex sentences?
Miss, complex sentences are fascinating components of the English language. When used properly, they add depth to our writing.
Okay, so thank you. Natalia Chetram, what makes up a complex sentence? Natalia, doesn't seem like Natalia can hear me. So I'll ask
Miss Natasha.
Yes.
What is your Google Classroom code?
I'll send it in a few minutes. What makes up a complex? I'll open the question. Anybody can answer.
Complex
Clause.
sentence contain an independent clause and
Clause.
at least one dependent
Dependent
clause.
clause.
Okay, now we sound like the fish market, but that's good. So a complex sentence is made up of one independent clause and at least one dependent clause, right? So we had examples where we had more than one dependent clause. Now I'm going to really take my time with this lesson today because we're looking at compound complex sentences. And as I said to you yesterday, if you look at the pattern, every new sentence, what we're basically doing with every new sentence is that we're adding something onto it. So when we looked at simple sentences, we started with an independent clause. When we moved on to compound sentences, we added another independent clause, and then when we looked at complex sentence, yesterday, we added something else, and so we had an independent clause with a dependent clause, one or more dependent clauses, and so today we're adding to that. Now keep in mind that it is important for you to know how to identify and use these sentences because as I said, it will help you in your writing and it will also help you in your speaking so that you are able to express yourself fluently and in a clear manner so that your listener, the person who you're speaking to, will be able to understand what you're trying to say and what you mean, okay? So we'll get into today's class. Now, as I want somebody to guess what you think makes up. Don't Google. I know you have access to your phones, but don't Google it. Tell me what you think makes up a compound complex sentence. Now, be smart about it. Look at the name itself. We already have compound sentence. Did that? Yes.
Miss, it comprises of a coordinating conjunction, independent
clause and
Modal one,
dependent
subject or
clauses.
predicate.
Okay. I saw good try. I saw Rihanna raising her hand. Yes, Rihanna.
Miss, my assumption is that it makes up compounds compounds with independent clause and dependent
Compounds,
clause.
independent clauses,
Yes, Miss, and dependent clauses.
dependent clause. Okay, good
It
try.
consists of two or more independent clauses.
Two or more independent clauses. Very good try. Anybody
Okay.
else want to try? So that's very good for those of you who made an attempt. You're all correct in your own way. So let's look at our definition. Good. So we have here compound complex sentences are one of the four main sentence structures. Remember, I explained to you in our very first lesson when we looked at types of sentences that types of sentences are known based on their structure, what makes them up. They are made up of two independent clauses. So, excuse me, so Natalie, you're correct there. So compound complex sentences are made up of two independent clauses, also known as main clauses, and one or more dependent clauses, or what we call subordinate clause. In the bracket there, these are just other names that they refer to these clauses as, still referring to the same thing that we looked at. So if we think about a compound sentence now, a compound sentence was two independent clauses. So that's the compound part of it. And the complex part of it is that it also contains one or more clause. So that is the definition for a compound complex sentence. They are made up of two independent clauses and one or more dependent clauses. Just take a minute to go through that. If you have any question about the definition, please ask me before I move on. So I get.
Excuse me, miss. From the definition, so this compound complex sentence cannot have more than one depending clause.
Yes, it says that one or more dependent clause.
Okay.
Right? Any other person before I move on?
Miss, it said it's made up of two independent clauses. It can't have more than two.
No, it's two independent clauses, but it has one or more dependent clauses. So it can't have more than two independent clauses.
So, miss, if it had more than two independent clauses, it'd be a whole different type of sentence?
Yes, it would be a whole incorrect sentence.
Okay, miss.
Yes. Remember, we try to join our thoughts when we're writing, and so that's why we have like compound complex sentences. But if we try to have too many independent clauses being joined, like more than two, we end up having what we would refer to as too lengthy or too wordy sentences. And so with that, you're marked down for grammar there.
Yes, miss, I'm redundancy too.
Good. So now we look at formation of compound complex sentences. And this is basically how is it that it is formed, how is it that it is structured. In a compound complex sentence, we join the complex sentence to another independent clause. I'm going to go that again. We join the complex sentence to another independent clause. So in the case of an example we had yesterday, we had I was snippy with him because I was late for work. So that is our complex sentence. And what we will do to that is we're adding an independent clause. And they say that we do it in the same way we would join compound sentences. Now, when we looked at compound sentences, we join those using what we refer to as coordinating conjunctions, right?
Coordinating conjunctions.
Now, you will be introduced to a few different terms here this afternoon. That's why I said we will go slowly. So, a compound complex sentence is joined or put together using one of the following: a coordinating conjunction, a correlative conjunction, a conjunctive adverb, or semicolons. Don't worry about them. I will go through an example that uses each of those to join the sentence. So let's go this over again. A compound complex sentence is joined or formed by taking a complex sentence and adding an independent clause to it. Now, it's like the same way when you put things together. If I'm going to take two pieces of paper and I want to join it, I need to use something to bind it together, right? So I can use paste or I can use Scotch tape. So in the same way, we're taking these different components. So we're taking two independent clauses and a dependent clause, and we want to put it together. So for it to connect, for it to stick together, we will use we can use either of the following. We can use a coordinating conjunction, we can use a correlative conjunction, or we can use a conjunctive adverb or semicolon. So I'll give you another minute here to ask any question before I move on.
Excuse me, miss.
Yes?
Miss, could you please go through back this formation of compound complex sentences one more time? I fully understand.
No problem. So a compound complex sentence is formed by joining two independent clauses with a dependent clause. Now, if we look at the actual name of the sentence, and that is what they did here, they say we're joining a complex sentence with another independent clause. So let me put it this way. We're taking a complex sentence and we're adding a simple sentence to it. And we already know what a complex sentence is made up of. That is comprised of an independent clause and one or more dependent clauses, right? Let's look at this example. So just go through that, just read that for a minute and then I'll explain. Okay, so what we have here is that the components of a compound complex sentence is a complex sentence and a simple sentence. So I have here, because I love to read, which is our dependent clause, I like to visit the library, which is our independent clause. And then we have something else here. I enjoy going to bookstores too. Now these are the things that we're going to use. These here, what we have here now is the parts of the puzzle. And so I'm going to show you the different types of glues that we can use to put this puzzle together, okay? So this is what we need. Think you understand so far?
Yes, miss.
Good. So we're moving on now. Good. So the first example, we're using the same sentence, but I'll show you it with the different conjunctions. So we have here, in this example, we are joining the sentence using a correlative conjunction. Okay?
Yes.
So read it first, and then I'll go through it and I'll explain. All right, so we have here, I'll backtrack, I'll do it a bit upside down. I'll read and explain the correlative conjunction. So they say correlative conjunctions are simply pairs of conjunctions used in a sentence to join different words or groups of words in a sentence together. Correlative conjunctions are simply pairs of conjunctions used in a sentence to join different words or groups of words in a sentence. Correlative conjunctions are generally not used to link sentences themselves. Instead, they link two or more words of equal importance within the sentence itself. So, what all of this means is that first we'll identify the correlative conjunction in the sentence. We have not only, and we also have here but also. So it says that they're pairs of conjunctions. So we have not only, but also. They're used to join different words in the, or groups of words in a sentence. Because I love to read, not only, so it's joining this part of the sentence to the other part. It's used as a gap. So we're here in Freedom Hope, and this is the bridge that takes us to Georgetown. Because I love to read, not only do I like to visit the library, and so here we're in Georgetown, and we want to go to Mahaica. So we have another pair of conjunctions that will help us to get there, another bridge. So not only do I like to visit the library, but I also enjoy going to bookstores too. And so let's go back to our components quickly. You see, we have just refresh your memory here with our components. And this is how it's all put together. So this is using correlative conjunction. Correlative, co means it's two conjunctions. Relative means is that it's relating one part or a group of words to another group of words in the sentence. Because I love to read, that is our dependent clause. Not only do I like to visit the library, but I also enjoy going to bookstores too. So we see we have our independent clause being joined to our dependent clause here with a correlative conjunction. Let me come back here again. I like to visit the library and I enjoy going to the bookstores too. That is our two independent clauses. So the first way you can write a complex or structure a complex sentence, compound complex, is by using correlative conjunction. Okay? So let's look at this one now. Here we're using a coordinating conjunction, and this is simple. So we have our components again. I like to visit the library. I enjoy going to bookstores too, which is our independent clauses joined to the dependent clause. And we're using a coordinating conjunction, and here we're using and. I did not give a definition for coordinating conjunction here because we did this before. So because I love to read, I like to visit the library, and I enjoy going to bookstores too. So because I love to read, I like to visit the library, and I enjoy going to bookstores too. Please note here, very importantly, the use of the comma to ensure clarity. So because I love to read, there's a pause. I like to visit the library, and I enjoy going to bookstores too. Think you understand so far?
Yes, Miss.
So before we go to conjunctive adverb, I don't want the lesson to just cut off. We have about 2 minutes, so this is what I'll do. I'll end us here, and then we'll join. And in the meantime, I'll send the class code to both groups, okay?